Hi, my name is Caitlin, and this is my qualitative presentation. My PICO question was for newborn babies, does skin-to-skin contact in the beginning of life compared to simply swaddling the baby after birth have an impact on hypothermia or breastfeeding in the newborn? So I found an article, a qualitative article, and the purpose of this article is to provide insight into key factors from a clinician's perspective that influence uninterrupted early skin-to-skin contact after vaginal and cesarean delivery of healthy full-term infants. And the research question that came from this was, does skin-to-skin contact have beneficial effects for the mother and the newborn? The theoretical framework for this article was early skin-to-skin contact of healthy full-term infants ideally begins immediately after birth and continues for the first hour or the first breastfeed as recommended by the Baby Friendly Hospital Initiative. Critical institutional factors included inadequate staffing and education of clinicians on early skin-to-skin contact. So this article really discussed how um, there was a lack of education about skin-to-skin contact within this hospital, and various facilitating factors and barriers to early skin-to-skin contact of healthy full-term infants born via vaginal and C-section were identified. As far as the qualitative research tradition goes, this was a grounded theory. So the mothers were doing skin-to-skin contact with their newborns because of the benefits that have been proven from this action, and skin-to-skin contact is deemed beneficial to mothers and newborns because of the results from this human interaction, and meaning from studies about skin-to-skin contact are handled in an interpretative process. The sampling method that was used for this study was convenience sampling, and the research design was exploratory qualitative research design. The study population in this article was 11 clinicians were interviewed, including 5 registered nurses and 1 medical doctor from the OBGYN unit, as well as 4 registered nurses and 1 medical doctor from the NICU. The location of this study was done at a university-affiliated community hospital in the United States, and some inclusion criteria was their willingness to participate. For data collection, a semi-structured interview consisting of 2 parts was used to collect the data. So the first part focused on early skin-to-skin contact after a normal vaginal delivery, and the second part of the interview focused on early skin-to-skin contact after a C-section. These interviews were conducted in a private room and during work hours, and the researcher asked the participant to complete a questionnaire on the participant's age, gender, race, profession, years of practice, and whether he or she had received training in skin-to-skin contact. As far as trustworthiness goes, there was plenty of credibility, including citations and references throughout the article. For the data analysis, the researcher analyzed 2 groups of participants, the OBGYN participants and the NICU participants. And a thematic analysis was used, which is when the researcher closely examines the data to identify common themes. Identifying information was omitted, and the recorded interviews were transcribed into verbatim data. The results of this study showed that all participants indicated that early skin-to-skin contact was important and beneficial. So to answer the research question, yes, it is beneficial, but they held different perceptions about the extent to which skin-to-skin contact is currently practiced at the hospital. And some participants confirmed the practice of early skin-to-skin contact, but the description that followed often illustrated that they had a varied and sometimes incorrect understanding of what early skin-to-skin contact entails. So yes, skin-to-skin contact can be very beneficial for the mother and the newborn, but lack of education, it goes to show that education about skin-to-skin contact is very important in order for it to have the benefits that it can. And few descriptions of the current practice were consistent with the recommendations of early skin-to-skin contact by the Baby Friendly Hospital Initiative. For example, the time of early skin-to-skin contact as described by the participants was less than half an hour, but the Baby Friendly Hospital Initiative recommends an hour of early skin-to-skin contact. So, like I said, lack of education decreases the benefits that skin-to-skin contact can have for the mother and the newborn. It has to be done correctly to reap the most benefit. Implications of this study were clinicians indicated that a lack of knowledge on the effects of early skin-to-skin contact and its technique could potentially hinder its use as a standard care practice. Education of staff and parents is important. Skin-to-skin contact is beneficial if done properly, and hospitals need a protocol and a plan for skin-to-skin contact in order for it to always be done properly. There are a couple of study limitations in this research study. Limited knowledge about skin-to-skin contact definitely limited the study because the clinicians weren't fully knowledgeable about this topic. It was a small sample size of only 11 clinicians. The constraints associated with interviewing busy clinicians limited the length of interviews since these interviews were done during work. And this study only focuses on perspectives of clinicians. And this is my APA citation.